Welcome. You're listening to the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. Join our epic pro staff around the Sonic Campfire for stories and adventures from our eastern mountains to the Chesapeake Salt. Let our highs and lows inspire you to take to the outdoors.
Welcome again to another session around the Sonic Campfire. This is Uncle Buck coming at you. You're listening to the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. And to my left is...
I'm Ryan.
I'm Catfish.
I'm Steve.
I'm Will.
Guys, I'm excited.
Again?
Again, guys.
Come on, Phil.
Yeah,
Every week, we're always so excited.
They get better and better.
I've been following this next guest for I think hardcore for about a month and a half.
For a while, yeah.
If not 2 months. I am so impressed. She's catching daily. I just ruined half of it right there by saying she.
You went and did it.
Oh, you gave it away. You blew it.
Not yet.
Good job, Phil.
But this young lady puts on her boat at least 6 to 10 times a trip.
She has
what I wish I could put on my boat once.
She has
on my
more
kayak.
fish inches than you could ever dream.
Oh yeah. Nothing.
Monsters, too.
And we're talking meat torpedoes, folks. And what I mean by that is pike and muskie.
Toothy critters.
Yeah, freshwater barracuda.
I can't wait. Let's talk about...
Who'd you get on the...
I didn't get her on. Somebody made this magic happen.
Stevie, what happened here? How did you get a hold of this person from out west?
I just, called a couple guys and
they knew some people.
Called in a few favors and, yeah, that's how
They knew people.
They knew people.
Traded a couple guns to this person.
Traded a few guns to this guy and
some beef jerky.
Some beef jerky and whatever.
I think without further ado,
let's get to it, bud.
We need to welcome our new friend from the Cornhusker state of Nebraska, otherwise known as the Midwestfischergal.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as Kristine Fischer. Welcome, Kristine.
Hi, Kristine.
Hey, guys. Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Had a good day on the water today, so I'm happy.
Look, I think that's every day for you.
Yeah.
Have you had a bad day on the water lately?
It was windy last Wednesday.
Yeah.
Hey, I like windy's usually a good thing for me.
Amen.
I usually like windy. Yeah. Wow. But they've been there. I've had some days. Don't you worry.
So what happened today? Before we get any further, just tell me what happened to you today.
Well, I was out for a couple hours before I got a hold of you guys. And I was fishing this big. I don't fish a lot of private water, but I've got a client or two that have a place on this giant sand pit, and I've heard rumors that there's some decent fish in there. So I took this tiny little recreational Capri kayak that I barely fit into because they don't allow outside boats on. I went back there and investigated. There's some laydowns, and I caught some big bass. One was probably just 6.5, just shy of 6.5 pounds.
Wow.
I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
You just got Uncle Catfish's attention with that 6-pound bass. He perked up. He did. His tail feathers just went wide on that one there.
I'm a lot.
Yeah.
Fish.
It was one of my bigger bass the last couple months. But I guess private waters, and I mean they're not near as challenging as some of these bigger public bodies of water. So I just do that occasionally, just for a change of pace. So that was my afternoon today.
I hear you, Miss Fisher. I tell you what, I'm a lot like you. I fish every day, unless it's Thursday when we podcast, and then I don't have time to squeeze in a few casts normally. But I tell you what, last night I caught a tank. I had a bass right at dark. I had 3 casts. No, that was the night before I caught a tank. Last night's tank, I was sitting over there, I was throwing a topwater, just a plopper, a little small black plopper, and sure enough, I caught it. I caught a nice. He was pushing 5 pounds. I was real happy with this largemouth, and there was a youngster fishing on the dock, teenager. So I walked back the dock, and I was trying to get the GoPro out of my pocket to get a decent picture. I was setting it up, and I was thinking to myself, this youngster's looking at me, and you know what? I had this bass out of the water too long, so I was dipping him, and I'm like, you're not getting away. He was trying to get away. he revived real good. He was kicking and fighting, so I stood up to hit the GoPro button, and yep, right out of my hand, just like
No.
yeah, never did get a picture of him. That's like my buddy Will, my brother Will did the same thing yesterday with a bass, and he said it was like fishing with David Blaine. 1 second they're in your hand and then gone. No picture. Oh.
It's like a magician, just boot.
It doesn't count unless you got a picture.
I was going to say, with no picture, there's no evidence. Didn't happen.
It was a nice bass. It was a nice bass. But no, I'm so stoked to be able to get you on our podcast because a lot like Uncle Buck, I follow you. Love your pictures.
Thank you.
It's very inspiring to me to see somebody who loves the sport of fishing way past just fishing. Like I can tell almost through your pictures that you, like if you took all the cameras away and all the pictures away, that you would probably even love it more. So
yeah, that's so true.
And it's amazing. I mean, for the people that are listening, you don't just catch muskies or pike. You catch tank muskies off, and tell them what you're catching them off of. I mean, it's.
Oh yeah, I'm throwing right now. My favorite my go-to is the Chaos Medusa. I mean, it's a giant, like 15.5-ounce bait. It's so awesome. There's nothing more cool than a huge fish hitting that bait. And when you work it effectively. So I like throwing big baits. They're not always ideal in certain situations, but for right now, I figured out a pretty good pattern, and it's producing like I couldn't even imagine. So on all ends of the spectrum. So that's my go-to. I love that thing.
15-ounce bait's bigger than some people's bass back here that they catch.
Why are you looking right at me when you say that? Jeez.
Yeah.
It wasn't meant to be like that.
That's like a personal attack right there.
Now, Kristine, I'm going to step back. What part, just for our audience out there, we're PA boys, and most of our audience is out towards the East Coast here. Where exactly are you fishing? What part?
Can't say exactly.
Well, not
Like exactly.
I mean, I'm not saying send me your GPS coordinates.
I mean,
which would be fine with that.
Water,
We would be cool with that. But you can do that outside of social media. But
Gotcha.
Where are parts in this beautiful country of ours are you fishing predominantly?
Exactly.
So exactly. So a lot of them. I travel a ton, so you're seeing a lot of my muskie pictures lately have been coming from Tennessee, around the middle part of Tennessee, some of the rivers in that area. My pike are all coming from southeastern Nebraska, but I don't want people to think like this is just like a gold mine for pike, 'cause it's not. We have a few good fisheries, but they're still, I mean, they're tough to catch. Nebraska's not known for big pike. You know, it's warmer temps, so it's not an ideal pike fishery. But I'm pretty lucky to have figured out a really good bite on one of the bodies of water that's pretty close to where I live. So, but other than that, I travel a ton. I only have 3 lakes within a couple hours of me that have muskie in them. So when I'm posting pictures of Nebraska muskie, like I'm just believe that I fish a lot for them. I put in a ton of time on the water. So when I post, a couple pictures every few weeks or so of muskie from Nebraska, I mean, it's not, people think that I'm just catching them all the time. It's tough. I put in some serious groundwork to make that happen.
Okay.
For sure.
I've heard you mention clients and that you travel a lot. So now I'm going to have to ask you, you have a day job.
Kind of. I'm self-employed. I teach Pilates at a private studio, and so I make my own schedule. And I did that simply to have the freedom in my schedule to do what I want to do. And I also, I'm a fishing guide, so I take people out on the kayaks, and I guide on the side for that, and I guide spring turkey hunts. So I kind of do a variety of things that gives me the freedom to the traveling is all for me. I will travel to guide, and I do that occasionally, but I purely love to travel, and I chase things all over the country, and all over the world. I've found all the country several times, at least once a year. So yeah, that's just for me.
You are like a Hemingway. You're sucking the marrow out of life right now.
That's the idea. That's the goal. I like it.
That's awesome.
I think Uncle Cat, you got to get Uncle Catfish into that teaching Pilates.
Yeah.
On the kayaks.
Yeah, it's funny. All these old guys that I fish tournaments with, like I'll go to a big tournament and they'll be complaining about their back, and I'll give them a couple stretches, and I'll be screaming like a little girl. But afterwards, they're like, "Oh, you feel pretty good." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Yep, that's $60 an hour."
It can definitely get to you spending all night in kayak, that's for sure. And she's doing a lot of this fishing out of kayaks.
Yeah.
I mean, most 99% of it.
Probably 99% of it's going to be
If I have,
kayak. Yeah.
if it's not out of the kayak, it's on some hard water. I've seen out of the pictures.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. I do guide ice fishing occasionally, too. I really enjoy that also.
Really?
Yeah, you guys see a pattern developing here?
I can, actually.
Fishing's involved. I kind of like it.
How long have you been guiding, Kristine?
2 years now? Yeah, about 2 years.
Have
A little over 2 years.
Have you done anything other than, so have you always been or always wanted to, I guess, be a professional or a full-time guide there, or did you do anything before that?
I worked in the hunting and fishing in retail, the Shields. I used to work there. I worked there for 5 years up in the hunting and fishing department, selling. I worked on bows, on the archery department.
You were a
selling
bow tech.
all that. Yeah, I loved that.
Nice.
Mhm.
We've got
So,
Now look who perked up.
Now we got another Tom's
We got a bow
spreading
tech
his
in the
tail
house.
feathers
Yeah.
now.
heck yeah, where are my bow hunters at? I'm crazy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's all I do. I don't rifle hunt for anything. I bow hunt for everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a place when you're not, you're obviously very busy. Do you have a place that you call home, or like,
Yeah, so
a place
I
that you
rent
go
this
back
little-
to like go through your fishing equipment and reorganize it?
Yeah, so it's like this garage. So I have a garage in a little place in Lincoln, Nebraska, where I keep, essentially, it's a 2-bedroom, and one of the bedroom is deemed my gear room, and then I
Nice.
have the garage, which is another gear room, and then the living room is kind of a gear room. The kitchen has some gear in it too. I'm not ever there, so it is a place to store my stuff. So it works.
Cool.
And my car is another. I probably live in my car or my SUV more than I live in my technical home.
I think we were twins, and then I got taken away from the Midwest somehow because my truck's like a rolling fishing camp.
I think her spirit animal is up in the Sault Ste. Marie, though.
It is. I was going to mention that earlier, but there's a mirror effect of your spirit out there, and I don't know if you know who
He lives in Canada.
Our brother Tyler Dunn is. He is a guide from Canada, but
I like what I'm hearing.
he is. Listen, I'm 37 years old, going on 36. And
But you're older than that.
I gotta say, Tyler, listen, turn your volume down for the next 10 seconds. I have never once in my life had this, what they call this weird man crush
They have a
thing.
man crush. Yeah, no, it's
But
true.
if there was one, it would be hockey hair, amazing, funny, tall, Tyler Dunn, catches everything, fishes every day, lives out of his car, just the funniest,
Hockey hair.
He lives like you do to fish. Like that's if he didn't fish, it would be like taking air away from him. And
Yeah, I can relate.
If you two got to go fishing together, you would just
Catch everything.
You would catch everything, and you probably two
Put
would
us out of
disappear
business.
forever.
Yeah.
and be like, listen,
It'd be rainbows and unicorns.
it would be. But
Can we hunt the unicorns, or is that?
Absolutely.
I think
Oh,
that would
only with the
definitely-
bow.
Only with the bow, yeah.
and he told me, it's like, we'll catch muskies out the front door, and we go out back and we shoot coyotes. We have some beer. Like, I guess we're Anyhow, it's just funny because it dawned on me right when Uncle Buck said that. I went, you two are like spirit.
They are
Spirit animals.
They are the Noah's Ark fishing people pair of my heart.
Anyhow, back to kayak fishing. I have a guy sitting here with me, Ryan, who is recently, not new, but recently obsessed with kayak fishing. This year he got his first kayak, and there's no going back.
Absolutely not.
If you had any advice for Ryan about how to maybe fish better out of your kayak, or how to make the most of your time in a kayak or set up your kayak, some tricks, what would you tell my buddy Ryan?
Well, I mean, it all depends on your style of fishing. You know, what bodies of water do you like fishing? Skinny water? Are you fishing rivers? Are you fishing big bodies of water?
Anything I can get the kayak in, but
Nice,
primarily
I like that.
it's been lakes, or when I'm on a river or a creek. Even it's pretty timid.
That back bay
Okay.
was rough.
The back bay was rough, but only because the wind was up that day. The day I preferred to fish the back bay down in Virginia, it was.
If it floats
laid
and
down.
if his kayak will float and somebody says, let's go, he's going.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I like that tenacity. I rig mine up. Like it's crazy. I like the ability in kayaks. So this is one thing that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on. You see a lot of the pedal style kayaks out there, right?
Yeah.
And those, a lot of people fishing specific like that because it allows for a hands-free. It's a lot easier in the wind to navigate. You're not fighting all of that. You don't have to have a paddle in your hand. I am kind of a rebel without a cause in that regard, and I am very loyal to paddling. I like the traditional, kind of why I bow hunt. I like to paddle because it's traditional, it's more primitive, and it's definitely it's a challenge. So I would say if you want to have an easier time on the water and be successful, I think that getting a pedal driven kayak is probably a good idea. But if you like to paddle as much as I do, I like kayaks that have a big open deck area so you can have a lot of room to store your gear. I bring a ton of rods on my boat all the time. The ability to stand up is huge. I mean, that's like a game changer.
And that's why I'm working on my stand-up bar.
Yes, there you go.
And honestly, as far as that paddling thing goes, I've got a paddle holder, I guess it is, off the side.
Mm-hmm.
It's a feel-free kayak that I'm in, and it's super wide, super stable. So standing up won't be an issue. I just want the bar really just to help me get up. But the paddle holder on the side, I've never used it. It lays across my lap.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm constantly paddling. And even when I anchor up, I find myself using the paddle just to get myself pointed in the right direction.
No, I'm with
Oh,
you.
yeah. I use
never,
mine all the time.
I never leash my paddle. It's always on my lap.
Yeah. If you look at a lot of my videos, mine is too. Like if I'm musky fishing, I need to be able to. I'll have my paddle like tucked under my armpit, and I'll be like half paddling with one of my arms while I'm trying to land this giant fish and point my boat towards it, and kind of be able to get that maneuverability. I always have my paddle on my lap.
And I'm not going to lie to you.
So.
I've definitely noticed that, and I wanted to point it out. Like a lot of the guys are talking about how they followed you on Instagram and they love the pictures and this and that. I wanted to thank you personally for all the video footage that you actually put up there.
Yeah.
She shows how hard it is.
I analyze those videos and I look
It's
over
not
that
easy.
stuff, and I've noticed that a lot of times the paddle's laid across your lap still, and I don't have to worry about running into any of these giant toothy critters most of the time when I'm out fishing. But I've been watching like just how you handle these fish as you get them in, and not to toot my own horn or anything, but I landed.
Oh, dude, go right ahead.
I was able to land like a 20-pound catfish and get it up on the kayak, and I didn't have a lot of extra space. Excuse me. And I was running through like some of that footage in my mind as this thing's laying across my lap. I'm
That's
like, okay,
cool.
this is, it's. I don't think you even realize that you're helping people just by putting that footage up there versus a still photo.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely new to the social media world, especially like with the video stuff. I'm trying. There's this handy little app that came out for people that aren't good at that kind of stuff, and it's like GoPro Quick, and it kind of does a lot of the work for you. So I'm hoping to. I have so much video, and I just finally started videoing because I've had some pretty cool stuff happen, and everyone see the video and nothing is on. I used to not video anything because the pictures and the video are always my last focus.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there just to fish. But with this evolution of social media and all these things and opportunities, I've tried to get a little better about that. So I think down the road you'll see I'll improve my video making also as I get a little more savvy with that equipment.
Well, I look forward to it, but I'm telling you now, you're killing it already.
Killing it.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, yeah. I just wish you had some footage of that boat, the one day, in the past couple of weeks, that passed you said, "Oh, the bite's not on," or whatever, and they went right around the bend, and you slammed what? A couple biggies?
I caught 9 after that. What happened? Yeah.
Slow day.
Yeah, I underplayed it because I knew it was more than 5.
Yeah, it was 9. I love that. That was I back in my younger years, I would have probably called out and said something. I've learned to just the wise and be humble and just smile and just know that.
It's funny you said that because last night when that kid saw me drop that bass and I dropped on my knees and tried to grab it as it went under the dock, I turned and looked at him nonchalantly and went, "And that's how you let him go, son." As he saw me trying to take pictures of it.
Yeah.
Kristine, you fish a lot of kayak tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Could you tell us the story about your first kayak tournament?
Oh, I thought we were going to ask her she could tell us how to win them.
We'll get to that.
Oh, okay, that's later.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. My first, it's probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was a spooky bass tournament out at one of our main lakes here. I think there were like 45 or 50 guys, and I didn't really know anybody. I had heard of one of the guys that was in it, just because he's the guy I now guide for, one of them.
So when you say 40 or 50 guys, you mean 40 or 50 dudes?
Kayaks.
Dudes.
Men.
Yep. Men.
Okay.
Yeah, bearded, grown men. We're at the age range from probably 20 to 65. All in there.
Like Uncle Catfish's beard and mine?
Probably a lot of Uncle Catfish in there, yeah.
Those are the worst bearded men there are.
I wasn't going to say it.
The big red ones.
Well, they tend to be my favorite, so I think we'll be all right.
He'll be liking our stuff.
I try hard on my Instagram page. I don't take great video footage, so I got to throw a couple filtered apps with some colors on it now and again.
You're an Adonis catfish. Who are you kidding?
When I post pictures of bass every day and a few catfish, and the other day I was holding one of the turkeys in the wood, and then I get on and I'm like, oh yeah, post this picture, and it's like, oh, it's finished, and it posts it, and then I start swiping, I'm like, oh, there she is. With another giant muskie that's bigger than my kayak. It's very cool. It's very cool.
True. Not as big as my kayak.
It's not as big as your kayak. The SS Minneapolis. 14-foot bright orange with a trolling motor on the back.
The SSR2.
But I have also noticed not only are you a good angler,
hey, hold on a second.
She's quite a juggler.
Take it easy,
she juggles
Stacey.
the rod, the net, the paddles. I've seen her. It's
takes
amazing.
practice to get all that down.
It is amazing watching those videos.
And you're horsing a 40-pound fish.
Yeah, and it's
I've
not a
lost,
smallmouth
3 nets,
bass.
right? I'm not. Don't give me credit where it's not due. I've dropped this year 3 nets in the water, trying to get at muskie fishing.
I saw
3
that.
cell phones or 3
I was going to
nets?
say nets are cheaper to replace than the cell
Cell
phones.
phones, I'm up to let's see, 2 ice fishing and just 1 open water. So 3 phones total. Not proud of it, but I'm getting better.
So maybe we need to start this outdoor sportsman cell phone fishing insurance company or something.
Yeah, they dropped me.
But we'd be bankrupt in a week.
Yeah, that would be good.
What, R2's lost, 5 or 6 this year?
I lost 2 myself this year.
I got one.
No, let me rephrase it. I lost 1. Will lost 1 for me this year. And on the same day, he lost his.
And your dad?
I lost Dad's phone in the water, so that's 3. You're right.
So let's get back to your first tournament story.
Derail. We sidetrack a lot.
Sorry.
We're comparing our
That's
cell
fine.
phone
Let's
losses.
circle back. We'll circle on back here. So there's 40 or 50 dudes.
Mm-hmm. It's a bass tournament.
Right? Yeah.
Do you guys know how kayak tournaments are? How they're
Not a clue.
Okay, I'll give you just the quick rundown of it. It's pretty simple. A lot of them are 5 fish, your best 5 or your best 3, and we use a hog trowel, and you measure the fish. They give you an identifier that morning. It's all obviously catch and release. So you get the fish, put it on the board, take a picture with the phone or whatever media you have, let the fish go. Everyone comes in at the cutoff time. You turn your pictures in, your 5 best and total inches. That's how those are based. So identifier has to be present in the picture, all of that, and it's pretty effective. And a lot of times that's how we do it, and it's nice because, we're not keeping fish in a live well or keeping them on the side of the boat. They're released immediately. So that's kind of neat. I like how the kayak community does that for sure.
We haven't made it public yet, but Will and I have been talking about starting a R2, a Rut and River kayak tournament here on the Susquehanna. We have one of the best smallmouth fisheries. I don't know anywhere.
A friend of mine just won a kayak tournament out there.
Yeah, on the Susquehanna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we wet waded a lot. We go wading and smallmouth fishing. It's one of our favorite things to do, just to go wading the river and
absolutely,
throwing top water and Senkos and stuff around for these smallmouth. But it needs to be done. The kayak fishing, sport fishing is so huge. It needs to be bigger in here in Pennsylvania. So
yeah, absolutely, it's booming. That's for sure.
What's your closest call to having one of these toothy critters lay into, like, your kneecap or your finger? Like, 'cause getting them on a kayak, you're not exactly on your feet all the time to have the quick reflexes.
Last November, I was out. It was cold. It was going to be a good day. There's no one on the water, and I wanted to fly fish for big pike off my kayak. And I caught one that was right at probably 40.5 inches.
Whoa.
Yeah, but it inhaled. I was throwing this big giant streamer, and I needed to get that back. I dropped my pliers because they pick up a pattern here in the water, so I didn't have my pliers to get this out. So I thought, there's no big deal. Yeah, I'm just going to use one hand to kind of act as a jaw spreader, right? And then all I had to do, it was barely, this bottom, like, 9-aught hook was barely stuck, like, way down, just right outside the gill. So I figured if I can just pop my finger down there, right, and then pull my big streamer out, we're good to go. So of course...
I don't like where this is going.
No. I'm using my fingers to act as a jaw spreader, and I reach my hand in there and just pop it, comes out, I sort of pull my hand out, and that thing... like, it clamps down and just starts spinning and just shreds shreds my hand. It looks like a freaking murder scene in my kayak. And, it is bleeding. And it's like, the fat that comes out of your, like, deeper cuts on the palm of my hand. Oh, that's honestly, though, I think the only time.
How many stitches?
I don't believe in stitches. I do butterfly bandage.
Nice. You're my girl. I'm I'm an old ER nurse, and I see you.
Is that what they did in your ER?
No,
well, it would be like butterfly.
You don't need stitches. When she mentioned the fat coming out from under, that's when you know it's a good cut.
I still work in the ER and see it every day, and I tell everybody the same thing. That's what 40-pound braid's made for. Why'd you come in here? Grab Grandma's sewing needle and get your fishing line out.
Yeah.
And then I get in trouble because I'm not supposed to talk to my patients that way.
And some Gorilla Glue.
I had like a wet rag, and I just kind of wrapped that around and took some fishing line and tied the rag to my hand and fished for another couple hours.
I was going to say, let me guess, you kept fishing.
That would have been the best day to drive over to them boats and like just wave at those guys with your hand and be like, yeah, they're biting. Yeah, they're not biting.
The bite is on my finger.
They're biting pretty good.
How you boys doing?
Did you get your fly back at least?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that was a hand-tied fly. I wasn't about ready to lose that thing, and the fish swam off good. So it was a win all the way around.
That's good.
Yeah.
Probably have more self-control than me. A few minor, nice words would have came out of me if that would have happened to me. That fish would have got a lecture.
Kristine.
Well, yeah.
We've talked about the sharp toothy critters. We've talked about the largemouth bass. You travel around, you've been I know you've been to Kentucky before, Tennessee. You fish a lot of diverse game fish fisheries. What is your favorite, and I'm going to say freshwater fish to go for?
Good call. Muskie, hands down.
And what's your dream, if you've done it or not? Where would you go? Where do you want to go to catch?
What's your bucket list fish?
Because this is my bucket list fish that we're talking about.
You're getting emotional about it, aren't you, bud?
Exactly. My bucket list fish. You mean freshwater fish?
Yeah.
Bucket list freshwater fish. I would have to say, I would love to do a steelhead on the fly. out in the Pacific Northwest somewhere.
I know a guy.
That's one of the things that, I've wanted. I'm actually heading out there in a couple weeks to try to do that. So
I tell you what,
it'll happen.
when we're all done here, look up Tyler Dunn. He'll hook you up. That's his favorite thing to fish for.
Really?
Yeah. Like his Instagram page is a lot like yours with the muskies. That's mostly what's on his Instagram page.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's his favorite.
Yeah, that's been one of those things been in the back of my mind for a long time. I've wanted to do that. I've caught a lot of different species, and that's one that I haven't yet. And there's a pretty neat relationship there, I think, with steelhead and with diehard steelhead anglers, and I want to be a part of that. So
if we have the time one day to ever meet up in Roatan, Honduras. And now you'll get this if you ever go back to our podcast and listen to R2 Summer Vacation, my vacation from hell. But I caught some nice barracuda when I was there, and the whole time that I was on this boat, I was thinking I would do anything to have my kayak and catch one of these off the kayak.
Yeah,
because they're
how big?
Oh,
are we talking here?
They were
like 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah, every bit.
Yeah.
And there was bigger ones there. I mean, we saw bigger ones chasing the ones that we were bringing in. Anyhow, you can literally catch these things 100 yards from shore. Like the way that Honduras is made, like you go out, and it just drops off to 1,000 feet, and like 100 yards offshore, and they're everywhere. We were trying to catch. We were on the. Give me one
Wahoo.
second. We were on the Wahoo, yes.
The Wahoo Slayer.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And barracuda were tearing our baits faster than the Wahoo could get to them. So
we caught trolling for them? We
were, yep. And we caught some black tip tuna. Is that what they're called? The little guys.
Blackfin?
Blackfin tuna, thank you.
Yep.
I'm thinking of black tip shark. Blackfin tuna. Yep. And these barracuda were coming and ripping them up when we had them on the line.
Yeah, any silver fish, those barracuda. I caught my personal best barracuda in May. I flew down to Stella Maris, and I rented a little flats boat because it was too choppy to get the Atlantic side. And I talked to a local down there, and I went out and I borrowed some gear, and I caught this like massive, like 5.5 foot long barracuda, and I had to hand land it because I realized I didn't have a gas in the boat. But I did, and I got a picture of it, and I was pretty excited about that.
And did you get that off a kayak like that?
No, I rented a little flats boat.
I got you.
He rented it for $100. It was it was so awesome. So a couple of the locals down there, and I wanted to just try to find a boat. No one had kayaks. This is a super remote island. One of the locals had a boat, and I just gave him $100. He let me take it out for the day.
That sounds
Gave
awesome.
me a little map of where to go, and I was catching barracuda like that, and that's a blast.
Gotcha. Yeah, one of these days I got to find somebody that will go with me to catch the barracuda off kayaks. And
Who's
I can't think
go
of a better.
With you? I can't think of
a better person to go catch a giant toothy saltwater off a kayak than the muskie queen.
Midwest.
Hey, let me know. I'll be there. Sign me up. Just give me a couple days notice, and I'll be there.
I'll be your cameraman.
And it's not even as hot as Miami, so it's not bad. Like we were in Miami last week fishing for peacocks, and it was just way too hot.
She's such the real deal. I can't get over this. This is killing me.
Mm-hmm. We're so blessed through this podcast and the process and social media that we're able to meet phenomenal people on the regular.
Yeah.
And this is no exception. Can you tell us about, since you love kayaks, what kind of kayaks are you fishing with?
I like I'm on Jackson Kayaks fishing team. So I fish out of the Jackson Cuda 12, and then I'm getting a Jackson Mayfly, which is a fly fishing specific kayak. It's a little more stable, so I'll be able to stand up, and fly fish off of it. It's just, the reason it's fly fishing specific is that there's nothing that the fly line can get caught on. I mean, it's a really nice, big, open deck. It's awesome. I'm really excited about getting that. I think I'll probably switch to that exclusively and just use my Cuda gear there. Those are my favorite. Very maneuverable, quick boat, stable. I can get a lot of stuff. I'm a super unorganized angler, so I'll have at any given time, if I'm out chasing something, I'll have baits like all over so I can quickly switch it out if I need to. And I like to have that space is huge for me.
You said earlier that how many you took a lot of rods with you. What do you carry? Like 6 rods on your kayak with you?
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was my guess.
Yeah.
I thought I had a lot at 5 on my kayak. The other night I had 5 out. I'm like, yeah, look at me, boss. I got 5 rods with me.
Yeah.
And I'm ready for anything.
Yeah, there are some guys that are carrying like 11 to 12 rods on their kayak during tournaments and stuff. So there are definitely some kayaks that can equip that for sure.
Yeah. We here on the Susquehanna once again, one of our favorite ways to fish kayaks is we go out late at night with some pretty heavy gear, and we use live bluegills to catch giant predatory flathead catfish. But it's a different style of fishing than anything that I've ever done on a kayak. It's very pristine at night. It's very quiet. The stars are out. The moon is out. It's very quiet. And you throw baits out and let them sit, and you literally sit back, and for once, just the world goes away. And it's hypnotizing. And then just all of a sudden, the kayak rocks because this rod's bent in half, and the kayak's being turned this way and that. And we're trying to wrestle one of these big, slimy 40, 50-pound fish on the boat and get a bunch of pictures. And when it's all over, you throw it back out, and it settles down just as fast as all the lightning happened. And it's magical. It really is. So,
yeah, isn't that a cool thing? That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I really am just stuck on how many fish and trophy fish for people in the world that would love to catch. I'm stuck on how many fish you actually catch, and I can't imagine the amount of time that you put in to put these pictures up. People don't realize how much that I have to fish to put my pictures up, and I'm not even doing a tenth of what you're doing. So you have to live it and love it to do what you're doing, and we inspire to be more and more better at what we do all the time. And we live it too out here. We just don't. It's a different serene place that you live in, and it seems very cool that you have those opportunities to catch those big fish. We have muskies in the Susquehanna, but they call them a once in a 10,000 cast fish. Yeah. And if you miss that strike, start over. It's another 10,000 casts until you get a strike. So.
Let's go back to that for a second, if we could, Kristine. How did you start to? Because this is, for us, a muskie is such a rare species to catch. Did you one day set out and say, "Hey, I'm gonna start, fishing for muskies," or was it, something you caught by mistake one time and fell in love with it, or what started your passion for all that?
Well, my family, we grew up going to Canada and Minnesota every year to fish. And have our family vacation up there. And we fish for pike and walleye and all that good stuff. And, I love Canada. I love the North Woods. And I went up there about, probably 7 years ago. And I remember catching my first muskie. I hired a guide on Eagle Lake and caught my first one. And I remember people always talking about how much of a challenge it was and how you never saw them and how it was, fish 10,000 casts. Well, I am driven by things that are very challenging, that are almost, deemed impossible, that just mentally, physically will tear you up. I love that. I love being able to push myself and break those perceived limitations. And when I caught my first one, they're such a ridiculously cool fish and an awesome predator. I had seen them come up, I'd be walleye fishing out on a reef, and I'd see a big muskie come up and circle the walleye, and do that whole thing that it happens up in Canada quite a bit. And so that's I love the predator fish. I love it. And then I started fishing pretty heavily for them about 4 years ago, and it's been just awesome ride ever since. They're by far my favorite, and they are. They're the most fickle species in the United States. They're nuts. And it's one of those things where I think true muskie anglers can appreciate that. You fish sun up, sun down for them, and you burn big baits, and your shoulders are jelly, but that one fish makes everything so worth it. All of it. So I'll keep coming back to that, and I don't ever see myself stopping chasing that fish at all. Yeah,
they either want it or they don't, and it's the weirdest thing. And until one just grabs a hold and just blows up a bait, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I'll follow like the major and minor times and the moon phases, and I do follow that pretty closely and kind of document catches. And yeah, there's some definite truth to that, I think. I think the majors is huge. A lot of my bigger fish and most of my strikes have come around that close to that time. So I think there's definitely some truth to that. So you can get really technical when it all comes down to it, watching the barometric pressure and everything. And I try to keep with musky fishing. I try to keep record of all that stuff so I can look back and kind of see if there's any sort of pattern. And what I've learned is that if you're not in the water, you're not going to catch them. So even if it's a day that's not supposed to be very good, I'll be out there. It's just one of those things. You got to commit the time to it.
You're right. My grandfather used to say you can't catch him sitting on the couch.
Yeah. He's a smart man.
Yeah.
Does that ever affect? Because I read a lot about this, kind of off topic, but follow those major and minor feeding periods and moon phases and all that. And I've never been able to find I mean, I fish when I can. I've never been able to find any kind of correlation. I mean, it's been bad on days it's supposed to be good and been good on days it's supposed to be bad. But you've definitely seen.
I think a lot of that species specific, in my opinion, because our giant predatory flatheads here, if it's a full moon and it's bright out and there's no clouds out, there's no reason to not be out. It's not going to rain, and the moon's bright. They're like werewolves. I mean, I've caught some of the biggest fish I've ever caught under a full moon, as far as big catfish. So I don't know how it is with muskies and full moons, but
yes, I haven't had the best luck on the full moon nights, honestly. I like the new moon, and I've never really done well. And I honestly don't fish for them at night a lot either, though.
Right.
A handful of times I have.
I think in our cases, the water's generally pretty murky up here, and I don't know if that full moon gets more light to the bottom. That's
the idea behind it. Yeah, they're feeding with that. They're more apt to see what's going on with that. Yeah, I know guys that bass fish during the full moon, and some do really well, and some think it's one of the worst times to fish. Yeah. So I think when people think, like for me, I know sometimes I can be guilty. If it's, if I'm musky fishing and I'm going to be on the water for like 16 hours, I will kind of slack off a little bit until the major hour gets there. And then I'll really, hone in and focus and put all my effort into that. So that could be why too, that I'm getting a lot of my strikes during that 2.5, 3 hour period. It's like, I almost buy into it too much, and I'm putting like everything I have into that time, and the rest of the hours I'm just kind of casting, methodical, just kind of casting, reeling in.
Self-fulfilling prophecy there.
So, yeah, exactly.
So let's shift gears a little bit out of fishing and move into kind of the social media. How we learned about you was through social media. Your Instagram page has really kind of taken off here, exploded recently. Tell us a little bit about that, how you got started doing that.
Well, social media, I still haven't decided what I feel about that yet.
Amen.
Stevie.
I'm still trying to figure it out. Good things and bad things. I mean, I love to share my experiences, and my ultimate goal is to inspire people to get out and just look at life a little differently and spend time outdoors, whether that be like taking their kids out fishing or just, I don't think our society does enough of getting outside and enjoying just the simple things and a sunset over the water, or, just a freaking awesome frog bite right at dawn. I mean, there's so many little things in life, whether it be hunting, fishing, hiking, that I just want people to get out, and hopefully I can inspire, like, through my experiences and my trips and travels. So I like that, and that's all I've been doing. I mean, the only social media platforms I have I just got an Instagram, like, I think 2 years ago now. I have the Facebook, and that's it. I don't do any of the Snap deal or the Twitter or I just got a YouTube, but nothing's on it.
No, you're smart. You don't have time to do the snap deal with a 40-pound fish on the line. There's no way to do that.
And I'm never gonna do that. Money doesn't motivate me. So, and a lot of times, like I'll tell people, I always wonder. You see all these, and I'm not saying like the overwhelmingly large amount of new female anglers are totally guilty of this, but I just wonder if social media wasn't as big as it is, if people would still these people would still be fishing every day.
No, they wouldn't. They would
not.
If
they couldn't.
You don't have to say it. I will. They would not.
Kristine, you are the 1% real deal compared to the rest.
I have really good perceptions. For whatever reason, it's this weird gut instinct about people instantly. And I said it earlier, she would still do all this if you took the cameras away.
Most definitely.
I think that, what it takes to get the amount of fish that you have on your page.
Yeah.
And when you see what she's done, it's like next level crap.
And I didn't know there was a next level. I don't sleep now. So I didn't know there was a next level. But it's very impressive. Take all the cameras away, social media, and I could totally see you living in your kayak, and it's so impressive. It's very impressive to me.
But if I can.
You can.
I want to ask
Go
you
ahead, Ryan.
not to do that.
Yeah, don't quit social media. We like following.
And if for no other reason, like I said earlier, I'm analyzing some of these videos and I'm using them for my own, purposes to figure out how to do things, looking at them from a very technical perspective. I have 3 kids, the youngest of which is my 9-year-old daughter, and she is obsessed with the stuff that you put out there.
That's awesome. That's why I do it.
Now, not unlike Will, she screws up your name all the time. She calls you the Fischl girl.
Fischl.
Is there anything new for the Fischl girl?
I like
Fischl
it.
girl.
She's so cute. That's funny.
But she's obsessed with fishing. All my kids love the outdoors and stuff, but my 9-year-old daughter, Addison, is there's something that clicks with her and fishing. And the fact that she wants to know what's going on your Instagram page is proof of that. So again,
that's very cool.
Don't think it isn't doing what you hope it does, because it is. It's
you really want to blow Ryan's mind one of these days. Make one of your videos and look over at the camera and just hold the rod with a muskie on it, with your elbows real quick and go.
Say hey to Addison.
Look, hey Addison, Ryan, no hands. Learn that one, buddy. I can catch him with no hands.
That's awesome.
That's good to hear. I like that, because sometimes I wonder, if I don't want to get too caught up in, trying to get these photographs, and I just have my GoPro just rolling now, so I can just, screenshot them if I like it, but get the fish back in the water and get the rod back and start casting again. But a lot of people get too caught up in the social media aspect of it, which is what I'm trying not to do.
But you're bringing the realism to fishing. You're just not bringing it's boom, every cast it's a great fish, or boom, it's always perfect. With Kristine Fischergal. And
sometimes I like to follow the lows.
Exactly.
It
inspires me that I'm not the only one making those mistakes.
How do you appreciate the highs?
Next time you film yourself and you drop a muskie before you get 1 inch of its tail in the water, I'm going to go, I did that one.
But you're Mr. 6-pound peacock bass, though, Will.
I don't mind catching big fish. What?
But didn't you?
Here we go.
And you did consistently catch the big fish.
Remind us, Will, how big was that peacock bass?
I just told you both tonight why I didn't catch any big fish that day.
And Kristine, I'm sorry I just sidetracked us there, but Stevie mentioned this an episode ago about how we're going to continue on with reminding him how Will caught the biggest peacock bass. Yeah. And I had to at least perpetuate it through this show.
Last 2 weeks.
So we can keep it going.
We have 13 podcasts left.
So do you think you would catch more fish if you didn't have to I don't know, for lack of a better word, deal with the social media end of it?
There have been a few times where I've lost some really nice fish because the GoPro was going and wanted there's actually another girl around here I fish with quite a bit. She was running the GoPro, and I had this giant pike. I'm rod and reel ice fishing, and I'd fought it for a long time, and it was a giant. It would probably be my personal best, and it's coming up. Perfect opportunity for her to slip her finger right under the gill plate and pull up out of the hole. And I have this all in video. It's actually on my Instagram. The video of this, but we were so concerned to get it on the GoPro that it's sitting there, and this tiny little jig and wrap is like barely hooked on the upper part of the lip, and I'm looking at it, and I just see it happen, like the treble hook just breaks, and it slowly starts going back down the hole, and it's like 8 inches high. So I throw my hands down there and try to scoop it, just completely pointless, trying to scoop this giant fish, and it would have been so easy for her if we weren't worried about getting it on video to just lift it up and get it out just like that. So we talked about that and evaluated, and now the pictures are always my last priority. That was a huge lesson right there. That's last priority, because at the end of the day, they really don't matter. You know, I know that they do. It didn't happen if you don't get it on film. And I've had a couple muskie this spring that I didn't get pictures of because, you know, I had them in the net getting my GoPro set up, and they just swim up and out of the net, and away they go. So yeah, it sucks, but it's just the reality of it. So yeah, I try really hard not to get too caught up with that.
But with your GoPro going, at least I found out through Catfishes, he catches some great photos through the GoPro.
I find it's much easier than past years to just stop everything I'm doing and take a photo, then just leave the GoPro record, and then later on go watch it through it and go, oh, wait a minute, let's just pause it here and go frame by frame, a couple frames, go, that's a good picture. We'll save that one out of a big long video.
It's the best way to do it.
It is. Yeah. I agree. Yep.
You make a wedding album out of every outing. I mean, like the day we did it with the deeper guys.
Yeah.
You know, golly.
I caught an amazing picture of you turned around laughing on the rock, and one with a bass jumping behind you in the water.
Exactly.
And I would have never got them had it not been a video.
Been running, yeah. I've started doing that at the beginning of this year. Just running, just having my GoPro just run, and that way it's not only, you know, you can just get great shots of all the action, but you don't have to. The fish is not, you know, susceptible to fatigue or anything while you're sitting there trying to get everything set up. You can just lift up, especially with muskie and pike. I mean, that's crucial to get them up, and they should be out in the water no longer than like 10 seconds back in the water.
And that's exactly what happened to me when I tried to wet this bass, and it.
Yeah.
No, because I was trying to be nice to the fish, right? But no, I was recording Phil. I was recording R2 Buck in the river, and he was being silly, and he put the rod in his mouth. He was underwater holding his breath, and he popped out of the water to give us a good Rut and River, you know, this is Rut and River, and I watched it back, and I freeze framed it and sent it to him, and I went, a big bass jumped right over your shoulder in the water.
Perfect timing.
It was like perfect timing.
Yeah.
That's how we do it, Kristine.
That's how we do it. That's what he said.
That's how it's done.
That's how we do it. This is these group of guys are the brotherhood is amazing here. They're great-hearted guys. Don't listen to this crap, guys. I'm talking to her. Look away.
All right.
Look away from me.
Don't look at me.
Their love for the outdoors is extremely deep, and we don't just hunt through social media and pick this person and pick that person. We actually pick the people that talk to us through your pictures, and being able to then talk to you adds a lot. And we don't always get out of it exactly what we thought, but tonight we really appreciate it because we got out more than we needed. And
a lot more.
Awesome.
You're tremendous, and we really can't wait to continue watching your life. When you're out there fishing and sharing those pictures, we're with you. I mean, it's like that. It's cool.
That's awesome, guys. I appreciate that a ton.
Not only that, we'll wake up in the morning hoping and praying that you're out there doing something.
Oh, she is.
That we're not able to do.
That we're not able to do because
as we drive to work.
Exactly.
There's 3 or 4 of us on the verge of quitting, like on the verge of going, everybody else can do this. And,
I'm going to be a Pilates instructor.
Yes, I see a huge future in that for you.
Oh, good.
Can you touch your toes?
Not yet.
Okay,
We're working on it.
While I'm sitting down, yes, I can.
I can see my toes with a mirror.
Yeah.
So you're
That counts in some places. That's
No, I'm teasing.
he can see his toes.
Without a mirror.
Listen, we want you. Unfortunately, time ran out on us here, and we definitely want to have you back after hunting season. We can't wait to hear your hunting
We didn't
adventures.
get
You are
into
quite
that.
the hunter.
I know we're going to get
Oh,
into
do
that
you-
on the next podcast.
Do you hunt?
Do you like to hunt too?
Don't even go
When I'm
there
not
now.
fishing, I like to hunt. Yeah.
Her and I have a lot to talk about when it comes to tuning up bows and setting up some archery equipment. So we'll
Heck
definitely
yeah.
be having her back on.
Oh, nice.
So-
if she wants to, don't force her.
Oh,
No,
We'll leave it up
it's
to-
been
All
a
right,
pleasure.
sorry.
I think we can do it again.
We have to ask you one big question that we ask some of our favorite guests. Are you a Stromboli or a calzone girl?
Ooh.
Don't get this wrong.
And
We'll
there
hang
is a
up on
correct
you.
answer.
The right answer is corn dogs.
You know what? I'm going to have to go with a Stromboli.
Yeah.
Just when I thought you couldn't get any more perfect, she goes and picks Stromboli.
Every night before the
And there it
podcast,
is.
we have a Stromboli.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like pod food.
It's pod
Yeah.
food.
So,
Yeah.
Kristine, how can people learn more about you, get in touch with you, see these epic pictures that you've got out there floating around?
I think I probably do the best job with the whole social media game on Instagram at Midwestfischergal. A lot of people with my guiding will message me on there, and I usually am pretty good. If I'm not, if I have service, I'll get back to you as quick as I can about guiding or just what they want to know. I'm blogging too to try to inspire people and get out there and just chase whatever it is that fuels their fire and live their life to the absolute fullest that they can.
So Midwestfischergal, and Fisher spelled Fischer, correct?
Yep.
All right.
You
Well,
bet.
you've definitely inspired me through this podcast for a new adventure. I will catch a muskie from my kayak now, and I will.
You have to.
When I am done with that,
I'm going to hold you to that.
I'm going to do it if it takes me the next couple years, but I will share that picture with you.
Please do. Yeah.
They're
Head on out.
they're out there where I fish. I just don't target them because I know that it's. But I'm going to now.
Yeah.
I'm going to.
Awesome.
Hey,
Awesome.
Man, this has been great. Thank you, Kristine. I appreciate it.
No, thanks, guys.
yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kristine.
I got to
Yeah,
go.
thank you, guys.
Let the boys wrap it up here.
Thanks,
you.
Kristine.
Thank you, Kristine.
Phil, can you believe what just happened there?
Guys, if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have believed it. We actually got to talk to the Midwest Fisher gal.
That was good stuff.
It was great stuff.
Impressive.
And she's doing what she's doing. I heard Midwest Fisher gal until tonight. I was thinking, maybe she's up a little bit more north, but Nebraska is nowhere near where I thought she was. With the caliber of fish that I've been seeing her put on.
She's
can't
been
believe-
getting it done.
I
That's
can't
good.
believe how much traveling she actually does.
When you see that much muskies, in all honesty, like I think what is it? It's Minnesota. It's
Wisconsin.
Big cold water.
even
North Dakota,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. She knows what she's doing. I had a great time tonight talking to her. She inspired me to catch a muskie from the yak.
Have you ever caught a muskie?
I've
Ever
caught one
many?
muskie in my life with my Uncle Rusty, and we were at Racetown.
I've seen one, and that's it. That was at Racetown, but that's it.
Racetown's got some big muskies, but like I was telling her, they're 1 in 10,000 casts are tough to catch.
Yep.
I find them as tough to catch as stripers are.
When I was a kid, I fished a lot, and a lot more than you'd ever think that I would do. But I caught a handful, and minnows and stuff like that, live bait in the Juniata.
Really?
Yeah, the wet wading, Juniata. So, but nothing of size. I can't tell you that it's
In
30 inches or
in
better.
Lewistown, when we were wet wading for bass, I stood on a rock, not unlike the rock we all sat on in the Susquehanna recently, where Will's to his chest and 20 feet away, I'm sitting down and I'm barely wet.
Indian
But you can't
style,
see
like
the rock.
Gandhi.
It's like a half an inch underwater. And I was standing on a rock like this in Lewistown one time, fishing with my dad and my uncle, and I saw one come up to the rock. I'm ankle deep in water. and step off the rock, you're waist deep in water. And I saw one come up and just kind of nonchalantly look at me and circle the rock, was checking me out. And I was a kid. And, I didn't come unglued or anything, but I didn't get off the rock till it left. And it was a wow. Yeah, so they're in there, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, what's anything new with you guys?
I had a new experience yesterday.
Did you really?
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
I had a little one-on-one time, waist deep in the water with Will.
Uncle Will.
Uncle Will.
Is this when he caught his small peacock bass I heard about?
No.
Did you guys hear about that?
Didn't you catch a peacock?
I was going to tell you about it.
Was this a 6-pounder?
It was as big as anything. You could fit my arm in its mouth. Like,
That's pretty big for the Susky.
Well, it wasn't in the Susquehanna. I was down in Florida.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about that trip?
Yeah.
I'll tell
Stevie,
you-
did you hear about that?
Yeah, I could
I
have
had to
swore
do it.
he was just about to say it was as big as anything Stevie caught while we were down there.
Did you guys know
Or
I shot
bigger,
a buck this year?
Bigger.
I'm going to tell you all about that buck I shot this year.
It could have eaten
After we hear about-
anything Stevie caught.
That's what I heard.
You did shoot a nice buck. Let's talk about it.
No, we'll talk about that later. But yesterday, I got to do a little wet wading in the Susquehanna, smallmouth bass, wet wading on the river.
Well into double digits.
While everyone else was at work.
It was perfect.
Yeah. Finally got to experience what it was like. Now, I mean, I wasn't in Miami catch a peacock bass, but I was on the
doesn't
river
matter.
in Susquehanna.
You know what was
Or
nice
in
about
Harrisburg.
yesterday? We didn't know where we were going. It was a new spot. It was a recommendation from a friend, a guide friend, a fish healer.
Yeah.
And a shaman kind of person. And when we got there, it didn't look very hospitable for wet waders. It was pretty
Too deep?
It was kind of deep.
Yeah.
Right where we parked. It was, there was a bit of a, it wasn't a dam because it didn't stop the river at all, but there was a rock dam-ish type thing, some structure that slowed the water down. So it was pulled up a little bit on the north end of it. And I looked at Will, he looked at me, and we're like, should we go below or above the dam? I was like, well, we're right here above it. Let's go ahead and go in. 2 steps into the water, we were already waist deep, and obviously the next step was, another 4 or 5 inches deeper than that.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, it could have been.
Yeah, I tossed out the whopper plopper. Will threw what he was throwing. Actually, I think at that point I was actually I had the spook on.
Yeah.
And I was whopper ploppering.
You were doing the whopper plopper, and I was doing the walking the dog thing. I mean, it looked beautiful coming across the water. We didn't have nothing come at it, but
In 4 feet of water.
yeah, we both looked at each other. We were like, yeah, maybe below the dam's good too, right? So,
What do you think, bud?
let's pull back out here
It's
quick.
funny.
and,
The guy's like, "Why aren't you going down here? Over this is where I live down here, and you just go down here right by my house. It's gonna be great."
the people where we
and
stopped.
we're like, "Oh no, we got this, bud." And then we got out, and we're like nipple deep, and we're like, "Okay, let's go back."
what'd that guy say again?
Let's go. Yeah, where did he say he was?
People are friendly, and we experience that. This is, a rural area in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, and you talk to a handful of people, and next thing you know, they're putting you on fish.
Yeah, we're parked in a nice place.
Yeah, we had a great parking spot.
Yeah, we're literally like 30 seconds. I was on my way out, and Ryan's like, "Hey, I just talked to a local."
I'm flashing my headlights like, hold on a second. I just spoke to somebody.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, come back. We found they hooked us up
And
with
we got
waterfront parking.
We got a second option for parking, which was right next to the no parking sign. Like, if you don't want to go in here, drive down a little further, park right by that no parking sign. Oh, okay. Never would have thought to use that spot.
Yeah, people do it all the time. It's great, right? But
Same guy gave us advice about fishing in Miami. Fish right down there with a no fishing sign.
We had a great time, well
it was
into
a
the double
blast.
digits, and we just
The fog wouldn't lift.
That
and
made for some awesome pictures.
Yeah, the pictures were great.
Amazing 2D taxidermy. It's quite possible it might make cover this week.
We had such a good time. And, and guys, if you're listening, Don't be afraid to ask Ryan to go fishing with you. He's a great fishing buddy.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. He's like my new fishing buddy.
It's so hard sitting at work.
Ryan goes no matter whether his knee hurts or not.
Yeah, he'll go to any hole.
I had I complained nonstop pretty
Just
much about the
remember
rocks
that.
in my shoes.
He'll go into any hole. Just remember. I just hope you let that be on the record.
I mean, pebbles in my shoes or not. Pebbles be damned, I say.
Oh my God! Good.
But we had a great time. And
Good stuff.
Another wet wading success story.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you guys. I'm very, very proud of you for not sending me more than the pictures than you did while I was at work.
Yeah.
You got me to level 30 of jealousy and level like 90 of angry.
Yeah.
Because I was at work.
I almost unfriended you guys. I was like a seconds away from unfriend.
Well, I actually had unfriended you during the Miami. But I picked you back up.
That's good.
And I don't want to bogart the end of this episode because this has been fantastic. But I do want to complain to you guys a little bit, if I can.
Have at it.
So I
Keep on Bogarting, by all means.
I had an epic day of fishing yesterday. That there was like a little break in the middle of the day for like 3 hours where I had to go to work, and then right back to the fishing. I took my two younger kids out, and we went to the Conewaga Creek. And again, wet wading. Like my feet, I've got jungle rot on my feet from the hours I spent in the water yesterday. Again, I'm exaggerating, but
It happens.
I took the kids out, and they loved it. Like my youngest, with Addie out there, she was like, "This is better than trout fish," and I'm like, "Well, take it easy." But I knew we were going to get into something. I didn't know what it was, but I took light tackle. Right, I took my trout rod that I think it's maybe a 5-foot rod. It's ultra light tackle. I got 4-pound heartbreaker on there.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I ended up tying on like a small offset hook and throwing a Kitech, like no weight on it or anything like that. I couldn't set a hook to save my life. I felt like I was fishing with a Barbie rod. When I switched from that 6.5-foot medium action bass rod to my ultralight tackle,
What you used to be used to.
my trout rod, and this was the only rod I ever fished with besides a fly rod.
Right.
And I picked that thing up and I carried it into the creek. I'm like, what is it? And I cast it the first time. I'm like, oh, that's cute. Like I actually wanted to cast though. So then the next thing you know, I'm like really like throwing it like Brett Favre throws a football, and I'm and the thing goes maybe 8-10 feet, but I couldn't set a hook on these fish to save my life. Like I'm throwing these things out there, and finally I'm getting a little bit of distance in my cast, and I've got my hook out there, and I'm feeling the bites. I'm like, boom, 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 boom. There it is. I go to set the hook, and as I pull my arm back, the rod just goes, and there's nothing there. Like I had to get that fish to ingest the hook and digest half of the
Poop it out.
Yeah, like once it was there, then I could maybe reel it in.
Although
I couldn't do it on light tackle.
Although Hunter
He's killing it.
Hunter didn't have that issue.
No, because he stayed with his bass rod.
Did he?
He has he's got a 6-foot like light action rod that we use where he runs a jig where we put the minnows on there with the slide bobber.
Yeah.
That's the one he uses for like crappie and stuff like that. He was using that in the creek, so he didn't have any trouble setting the hook, and he was pulling them out. He had his personal best, which turned into, this is better than anybody I know does. 6 casts, 6 fish. So he's like, I'm 6 for 6.
That's awesome.
And he got that from me because I actually was able to start setting the hook at one point, and I'm like, oh, look at that, I'm 3 for 3. And, we're not catching world records or anything, but we're catching fish, and they're putting up a good fight.
That's what it's all about.
And it's just fun. The kids are having a blast. Addie's like, this is better than anything I've ever done ever.
Awesome.
We're just having a good time. And then
Everything is awesome.
Everything is wonderful.
Hunter goes 3 for 3. Then he went 4 for 4, and I had already been 5 for 5, which was our family's record.
Of course you have.
And he's like, I'm going to beat your record. I was like, yeah, right.
Good luck.
If you beat that, I'll let you
eat a
stop
stromboli.
No, I was like, I'll let you decide where we go for dinner tonight. Yeah.
Where'd you go for dinner?
2 seconds later, I see him just set the hook. He's like, we're going to Rutter's. Here we go. I mean, Sheets, of course. But, yeah, we went to... We went to the gas station for dinner because that's what my son picks.
That's awesome, though. I'm so happy
Good
you guys
day of fishing yesterday.
Catching a bunch of them.
Phil, what have you been doing?
I got slinged up with the doing some duty for the Dauphin County constituents this week.
Uh-oh.
Do tell.
Jury duty.
So you got jury duty. Anything in the outdoors?
Nothing. Completely landlocked in the indoors.
Is that why you weren't with us yesterday morning?
Oh, you're working on some food plots and stuff,
Oh,
right?
man, I wish I could
little
tell you.
bow activity, I'm sure.
Well, yes, I did. I have been doing that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And when I wasn't locked up in the jury room this week,
You weren't being on. You're not on trial for anything.
No. I fed.
He was busy deliberating.
Yes.
I was deliberating molasses or corn.
Nice.
That's delivering, buddy.
How about you, Uncle Catfish?
I've done absolutely nothing in the outdoors.
What?
That doesn't even make
I have no clue where to begin.
So you came home. We haven't heard from you last week at all. You came home from Florida. How was the adjustment from weather, temperature aside? How was it like, fishing where there was no gators?
I had a great week fishing this week. I mean, the first week back, I can't say that I didn't catch a nice tank every night.
Yeah.
And I caught at least one tank every night this week. And it's, every night last week. It's been really good bass fishing turned back on. And I don't know, I guess I'm not over the jet lag, but there's something missing. I mean, I don't say I'm not loving it, but they don't have them spots on the tail. So I texted Andrew a picture of like a nice 4.5, 5 pound bass I caught, and I went, it's just not the same, bub. Like I had to throw 400 times to get this, not once for 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But it's been the Florida trip for me was amazing, and to come back and catch the bass like I know how to do, it made me feel good again because I know what I'm doing. And in Florida, I felt a little fish out of water, no pun intended. But actually being back, I've done a pow fishing, and I'm starting to feel. I hear geese coming over the roof of the house. I'm starting to feel now the rubber boot itch. I had my rubber boots on, if you didn't see in one of the pictures with my bass, and once they go on, they don't come off, right?
It's cooler in the morning.
Yeah, there's a little bit of dew on the grass.
I'm liking it.
Oh, it's
And
crispy.
I put those rubber boots on for a reason. I had a buddy, Brian, which was actually on our podcast back when we did the podcast at Bass Pro Shops in Randall Mills Mall. Good buddy Brian asked me to come down and help me scout one of his new properties in Maryland, and boy, did we. Like, we macheted it through this property. Oh. It was thick rope jaggers, heavy duty. We found bedding areas, we found staging areas, we found where they're going in and out of the closest cornfield. And as we were going through and found a staging area, I told him, I said, there's going to be a bedding area close to here. There has to be. We found this staging area right between the cornfield and this thicket, and then that's where all that heavy grass and old field that's chest tall started. Yeah. And as soon as I said that, there they were. They stood up. 2 big monster 8s stood up and walked out together. And it wasn't long after we saw those 2 monster 8s that were gorgeous, by the way. They didn't even run. They snuck out like they didn't think we could see them.
Well, they
nose to the ground. Yeah,
they knew what time of the year it was.
They knew what was going on. we walked maybe 60 more yards from them into that thicket, and there he was. I mean, you heard it. I went, oh man! And looked up. He stuck his head up out of this thicket and looked at us, and he turned and bolted just as quick as he stuck his head up. It could have been 5-8 seconds.
He's the boss.
He was the boss. It was one of the nicer bucks I'd have seen in the wild myself.
On the hoof.
Yeah, he was.
As they say.
Sounded like a bison running through the woods. I mean, to me, it was fun. And Brian had not seen a buck of that caliber in the wild before, so he was.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, the macheting through the thick stuff, through the rope jaggers back to the top of the hill uphill, went much better and much faster than it did going down the hill because he was all hyped up. But it's been good. It really has.
I like it.
Got my bow out, shot it some this week, and I
think we're all starting to shoot now.
Yeah, I got I have 2 secrets inside of me that I can't share.
Hold on.
But
You love doing that to me, don't you?
You can't do
it's
that.
if Sunday happens, it will be big. So
Then save it for next week.
No.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Let us all hang on it. Seriously, us with.
I'm going to let you hang on the edge till next week.
Yeah.
Tell me,
I want to.
and
No.
I won't tell Phil. How's
Quiet,
that?
Stevie.
That's a fair deal.
You just woke up for that, so
It'll make for what's new with Uncle Catfish next week. Pretty good.
Oh, I like it.
awesome.
This
I
week,
can't wait.
this week not. I fished every night, saw some bucks, scouted a property. It's been a
Heard
good
the
week.
geese.
Yeah.
Guys, once again, what a great week. We always say that every week. What a great week. Going forward, how do our fans find us?
You can find us online at www.rutandriverpursuits.com, on Instagram at R2Pursuits, Facebook, Rut and River Pursuits Podcast. Download the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, and
Castbox.
Nice.
Yeah, buddies. What a great week, guys. Thank you very much for meeting me here around the Sonic.
No,
Campfire.
Uncle Buck, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, buddy.
Hey,
All right.
love you guys.
Good stuff.
Thanks for listening to the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. Follow the R2 Pro staff by searching Rut and River Pursuits on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Until the next episode, we need to see you in the outdoors.